Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. You may have noticed that some people have the tendencies to fear all sorts of things in this world. For some, it is heights. You'll never catch them on airplanes, and even if you do, they'll be nervous throughout the flight. Some fear water and hate to get on boats. Some others fear dogs, snakes, and darkness. Some people are even afraid of falling in love. Yes, falling in love. One of the most common of those fears is public speaking. To stand up before any group of people or individuals has always been a major challenge for some people, despite the fact that career, business, and personal successes depend to a very large extent on how well we are able to speak to others. But apart from the fear of public speaking, many simply do not have the skills to communicate well with people, from politicians to teachers, business managers, and even parents. Public speaking seems to be a relevant topic to our effectiveness in different fields. Today, we explore this book titled Speak with Power. It's a practical handbook for public speaking. The author of the book is Ubong Essien, an internationally certified speaking professional and the dean of a public speaking training organization known as the School of Eloquence. Ubong Essien joins us to review Speak with Power and also discuss the subject of public speaking. Enjoy our chats. Ubong, nice to have you on Channel's Book Club.
It's good to be back, Kole. Thank you.
Nice to have you. Speak with Power. So you finally put a book to your favorite subject.
Absolutely. You know, having been teaching this for 10 years.
10 years.
Public speaking, teaching, training, coaching, week in, week out. It was finally time to take everything from the flip charts, from the notepads, and do a book on it.
Wow, nice one. Let's run through. Let's run through this a little bit, as much as we can. We don't have so much time, but it's quite interesting. A number of things I saw here. Let's start with defining what public speaking is. You wrote here in chapter 1 that from special occasion to ordinary life, public speaking is everywhere. Public speaking is not and should not be restricted to certain professions. Yeah, we tend to think they are public speakers, you know, but you are explaining here that even when you talk to a friend or when you give a prayer, when you speak to your colleagues, when you speak at a meeting, that's public speaking. Absolutely.
If you ask me what public speaking is, I'll tell you it is simply the raw art of person to audience oral communication. Without any accompaniment. It's raw in its finest form. It's raw. And when you look at good speakers, great speakers, the ones we tend to refer to as orators or eloquent speakers, these are the groups of individuals I refer to when I talk about speaking with power. These are the people who truly speak with power to create influence and make a difference. They are purists. That's why when you speak at home to your kids, and I'm sure they're a handful, you are involved in public speaking. You stop by at a friend's place and there's a social gathering and we want to, you know, toast the jolly good fellow. It's public speaking. And it will amaze you that some of these very simple scenarios, people of profile tend to run away from them. They tend to do everything to avoid them. When you get to work on Monday morning and there's a meeting and you need to explain what happened the previous week, it's public speaking. Whether you're in business, in politics, the entire gamut, everything we do requires some form of communication or the other and enter public speaking.
So it's not the classical, you're invited to speak somewhere. I mean, that's part of it.
That's part of it.
It's not limited to that.
It's not limited to that. And you find the frustrations that I have seen over the past 10 years working with people is that, look, you know, people come in, they say, I'm doing so well here, but you know what? I get embarrassed when I'm at a wedding. And they suddenly give me the microphone to make a few remarks about the groom, who happens to be an old colleague of mine. And I'm doing everything possible to not accept to play that role. Why? Because there's a problem with the ability to express oneself orally, satisfactorily as well. So in everything we do, and that's the reason why one of my earliest thoughts in the book is that public speaking is everywhere.
I heard that apart from death. the fear of public speaking is the greatest fear in the world.
Well, not necessarily. That survey was carried out in America. I'm not sure if that would literally apply to the Nigerian context. It was, I think, a Steinfeld that carried out that survey. But I think the point in that survey is this, that compared to the typical fears that we would literally want to not engage with, public speaking ranks up there. And of course, in America, the joke is that it means that most people at a funeral would rather be in the casket than be the ones doing the eulogy. Now, that's how bad it was then when that research was carried out in America. But of course, in Nigeria, there are people who are so scared of public speaking. They are more afraid of speaking than flying. I tell you, they'll gladly get on an aircraft and go where they want to go than speaking. They are more afraid of speaking than even investing. They are prepared to lose money,
but why
to save face.
But Ubong, why is that so? I mean, I speak in the public, and then considering the examples you've given, you know, but I'm not too comfortable. Okay. I mean, if I go to a gathering and then you ask me to just speak impromptu like that, I still feel the butterflies. I feel the butterflies.
Yes, that initial energy within your system.
And that's common with a lot of people.
Well, it is common with a lot of people. Essentially, for me, I say to people that is a healthy reminder, first and foremost, that you're human. Secondly, the excessive, should I say, the extreme anxiety patterns that people tend to show, because there are typically two categories. Those who have that restricted level of anxiety, once they begin to speak, it sort of peters away and they get a grip and they get through it. There are those who are extremely, extremely anxious. They are anxious before the speech, they are anxious during the speech, and even after the speech, there's nervousness. Yeah. Those are those suffering from extreme cases of anxiety. However, most of these problems are a function of knowledge. When you learn what public speaking is, most of us never really learned about it. We sort of assumed the role of speakers based on whom we observed. And so most of us winged our way to doing it well. So you have a lot of madness without method. What this book does is to say there is a method. You have to learn it. It is an art, it is a skill, it is in learning, in having the knowledge of how to do it, that the difference comes in. You may be a good subject matter expert. You know your field so well, but you could be very terrible with public speaking. And therefore, you need to learn the techniques, the ins and outs, the mechanics. There are mechanics to this, of how to speak in public.